Good day and welcome. I'm Joey and this is Orange D20. Today we're going to be continuing our series for the Royal Reclaimers Guild where we're building out a West Marches game for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Previously we started building out the very first possible dungeon that players could go to, and in today's episode we are going to continue working on that and building out the first encounter. Using Roll20, I've mapped out a really simple first encounter. My idea for this encounter is this will be when the characters actually get through the marsh that they have to tramp through to find the goblins, and they find the guardians outside of the den. As they approach, they'll actually be able to find the den. Here I've got my really simple map. I've got a low little stream that's on the edge of the combat area. It's something that is generally designed to be an inconvenience. Most characters would be able to jump over it, although I would generally make them make a simple check. If they fail, then it will halve their movement speed. These areas here are designed to, again, limit their options as they try to flank their enemies, because these will, again, act as difficult terrain. It's also there to give any druids or rangers who happen to be part of the group a chance to shine in their abilities. And then I have put my creatures onto my map. I put out 4 giant rats and 2 goblins. When I'm doing encounter design, I use the tables out of Xanathar's that tell you how many characters, what level each challenge rating is worth. So goblins are 1/4 challenge rating. Each goblin makes an acceptable challenge for a first level character in a fight. The rats are 1/8 challenge rating as giant rats, so each of them is worth half a character. It takes 2 rats to make 1 character. I have written some exceedingly simple notes about this encounter. So this is what I would write if I was writing this for myself, because I would improv everything else. These are goblin guards with giant rats on rope leashes. First action is to cut, or the rats have 5-foot total movement range. When the first goblin dies, it goes into the den. There's a mucky river, squishy mud piles. That's all I need for myself, but again, we're going to write this out further so that someone else can use what I've got here. You traipse through the thick bog. Cold mud slides into your boots, chilling you. Strange birds call from heavy limbs of the willows. Flashes of silver scales in the small streams draw your eyes. The sun cannot break through the lighting overhead, leaving everything dim and blank. I realize I want to change that to leaves. Part of writing it out more slowly means you don't say dumb stuff like you would say if you're saying it off the top of your head, but it also means more work beforehand. You almost fail to notice the croaks of toads and the scuttling along the paths begin to fade. There's a hole in the trees, a place where you can see the cloudy sky overhead. As you near this clearing, you see a series of interconnected domes made of woven dogwood and willow branch, carved tight and plastered with muck. The tallest of these domes is 20 feet high, but most are less than 10. In the center of several of them, at the highest point, pale ghastly lamps are trapped. My concept for that is for that to be will-o'-the-wisps, and I plan to describe that more fully when characters are a little closer. But if they look to examine it, even from this distance, I want to know in my head what they're seeing so that I can give them more information based on intelligent questions. I've got the number 1 here because I have labeled this encounter number 1. About 20 feet back from the break in the trees, you see a couple of small humanoid figures, warty and slimy, with huge pointed ears and vicious toothy snarls. Goblins, gathered close around a low fire, cackle to each other. Near them, there are a series of ropes staked into the ground, acting as leashes to several giant, scabby rats. The goblins' red eyes roam the edge of the tree line regularly, watching. A small stream, almost more muck than water, meanders just beyond the tree line. A rotted wooden board has been thrown across it to provide a way to transverse. You might be able to jump it, but the bank looks slick. You need a DC 10 athletics, or the character attempting to jump is knocked prone and falls in. I wouldn't give them that stat until they actually try to make the jump, or at least try to measure it. Slimy growth of sickly plants sprout out of the muddy patches near the goblins. These might be a feeble attempt at gardening, but the rows of brambles and the slick ground would make it difficult to walk. And then again, a quick note that it's difficult terrain. And then writing out exactly what's in the encounter, that there's 2 goblins worth 50 XP each, and 4 giant rats worth 25 XP each. Developments. On round 1, goblins use their object interaction on their first turn to pull the stake out of the ground and release the rats. The rats can only move 5 feet beyond their starting locations until this is done. If one of the goblins dies, the other goblin runs inside to raise the alarm. So this encounter with 2 goblins and 4 giant rats is worth 200 XP. So you've still got 1600 in our XP budget. That is our first Goblin Dungeon encounter. Next time we're going to look at designing the very first trap that will happen, and we will also probably look at designing out the diplomacy segment. I'm not sure how deep we're going to get into that advanced writing. I will probably do all of it, and if people are interested, make those documents available, but we might skim a little bit more just for the sake of time. Let me know if you have a preference on that. This has been Orange D20, and I've been Joey. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!